Judge, we think that it is incredibly unjust that music labels are able to infringe on the privacy and freedom and for celebrities to have to fake their personal identity to the public. First, extremely proud to govern. You'll hear 4 things from the government bench today. 1, setup. 2, privacy and freedom. 3, helping change your social mindset. And 4, more authenticity. First, setup. Onto our model. Our team will ensure that music labels and producers are unable to interfere with their singers/stars, and that music labels and producers will not be allowed to fire a singer based on their private life activity. What does interference constitute? A music label not allowing their singers to date or anything based on their private activity, or that they're being forced to wear something or dye their hair like black or something. Why do I think it's justified that music labels can't fire/not hire people based on their private life? We think similarly to a racial basis. Private matters aren't relevant, only their music is relevant, which is the actual job that they're being paid for. Okay, now to my first point about bodily autonomy and creative expression. We think that these growing stars are being denied their bodily autonomy on who they want to love and how they express themselves. We see this right in smoking when we are allowed to do what we want and express ourselves. Bodily autonomy is given out to everyone that is a human because we as a society believe that everyone is intellectual enough to choose how they want to express themselves. This also has a side benefit that these artists might be able to make new music based on their different periods of expression. This argument is non-contingent, which means that at the end of this debate, this does not rely on anything else to stand. Any POIs? 3, 2, 1. Okay. Now talk about how this helps change the social mindset. We think that once this change is implemented, the social mindset will be changed in a few positive ways. 4 reasons why this is good. 1, this encourages authenticity. My second speaker will elaborate on this. 2, this challenges corporate control. This shifts the view and encourages people to think for themselves instead of letting a company just control their whole life and what they have to wear and what they have to do. 3, role models. We think that these artists are often like social role models. We think that when they're able to be themselves, they can demonstrate their own values. And we think that these own values are incredibly important for society because they can show what these stars actually care about and why they actually care about these things. 4, rights. We think that this will shift the view on rights and allow people to express themselves more freely at work and at other formal places where they previously wouldn't be able. This can advance social conversation on these rights because these rights might not have been previously available for these music stars. Okay, I'll take that. Yeah.
How do people know to be themselves when they have no guidelines that might ruin their social image?
Because we think that these stars are actually themselves and they're able to choose to act like themselves. And we think that this is really important because these stars want to be themselves because the reason they want to be famous is to show their image, and why they became famous is we think that they wanted to share their story with other people, and that this is how they'll show themselves. Okay, so what are the impacts of my argument on how this changes the social mindset? This impacts the whole society as it changes the view on different things in society, which is really important because it can get rid of old societies and customs that might have been really bad for people. We think that corporations in other areas are also likely to become less demanding, and it also supports similar social movements, allowing people to express themselves more freely, such as the LGBTQIA+ movement. Judge, what have I shown you at the end of the speech? I've characterized what this debate will look like, given a principle on bodily autonomy, and how this changes the social mindset in a positive way. First, never been prouder to govern.
If I'm a K-pop fan and I see Jungkook date a prostitute, I'll be mad at Jungkook for violating his public perception. In the eyes of Jungkook, I just want true love, and my fan base is berating me. I will have burnout in the future. Also, when you see people like Jenny and Lisa make pornography and exclusive content, they're also showing young children that this action is acceptable. We oppose this harsh world. 3 years of my speech present some quick setup on rebuttals and lastly on our substantives. On framing and status quo, individuals that long to be K-pop trainees sign contracts with their company that includes various clauses, including ones on the moderated intervention of these idols' lives, lasting fees, etc. This is done after careful consideration with transparency, as companies do not want themselves to be related as a child exploiting corporations in the first place. B. Also, we frame K-pop idols as idols are upholded to high expectations. That's to say, a lot of people look up to K-pop idols because they have a perfect body, perfect face, and perfect dance moves. And especially because most K-pop idols are marketed as a perfect female or male Korean, this means that K-pop idols make poor life choices. They're attacked more than other figures because of the high expectations they hold. This is also a direct attack on the fan base because the fan has to now concede that they supported a K-pop idol that made poor life decisions and threw its own career under the bus. The model here is that we will stick with the status quo where individuals as K-pop trainees will be regulated also within their own personal lives any measures of exploitation of their artists and their image. B. We buy the belief that this will lead to some lack of privacy and personal struggles, but that's a better comparative compared to having idols create revealing content and wearing revealing clothes. If K-pop idols want to live this life of not upholding this image to fans, they have the full capacity to quit if they want to, but this is the kind of life they agree to by signing the contract. Before moving on, I'll take that POI.
Do you agree that K-pop idols, when they show their public image, they will be careful to not like offend their public image and offend their fans?
We would say that's comparatively better because if we hate its private life so much and can still terminate your contract, we still give that option on our comparative. Moving on to rebuttals on the premise of pressure and mental health. Two lyrics is a really weird line from Pop. A. Judge, if you really hate its private life so much you can terminate your contract, we already talked about this. B. Secondly, this is the far better comparative of not living a private life and throwing your life away. Especially since you're young, immature, and rich, it's reasonable to say that for people at such a young age to make poor life decisions, as a K-pop corporation, we protect K-pop idols. Moving on to our first substantive on the protection of K-pop idols. The premise of this argument is that many anti-fans target idols that reveal and make unjust choices within their daily lives to take leverage against them. Mechanization is twofold. A. Protection of K-pop idols is crucial for the integrity of both the artist and the company, since these K-pop idols are intended to be immature and naive as they are still underage, revealing their personal life and immoral decisions would lead to the exploitation of these individuals. B. If young artists are found to be immoral and inappropriate, this will lead to many anti-fans crushing the artist down, as this shows that they are not properly trained and are not the perfect image individuals. This also lowers the marketability of these idols and thus severely harms the corporation. Idols are marketed with a perfect girl or boy with various concepts, meaning if their image changes, it will ruin their long-term career. The impact here is that the impact of this argument is that idols on their side will feel if they make a decision that wasn't wise enough, and B, on our side, K-pop idols will be able to be protected from harsh anti-fans, thus keeping their image and reputation. On our second substantive on role models, the premise of this argument is that K-pop idols in today's society are seen as role models of children globally. The mechanization is twofold. Many youth and kids idolize these K-pop stars, dancing after these idols are following their viral looks or faces. Example here, when Lisa went to Crazy Horse, a popular stripping club, to dance in really revealing clothing, her young fans in their 10 to 20 were really disappointed. This is because these fans had a high expectation for her to set good role models for younger fans, but instead set an inappropriate consultation. If YG had probably consulted with Lisa on this, her image might have not been as tarnished. So proud, because K-pop stars are seen as role models and are marketed because of a specific image that appeals to fans, restriction of personal behavior helps maintain this image, ensuring that it aligns with the label's marketing strategy and the expectation of the fan base. For all these reasons, so proud to propose.
The main point of opposition's case is that they have forgotten that the model doesn't just apply to K-pop idols. It actually applies to other musicians and artists who aren't advertised as these perfect people. They like these musician labels, they aren't advertising them as perfect people. And so what have they said today? They said that this protects K-pop idols as and the status quo as they are advertised as perfect people, and which means that when they are showing their public image, then it tarnishes their image. So two responses to this. First of all, they are not actually required to release their public image. We are only saying that if they want to, they can do this. And second response is that it is better for the fans to actually know who they look up to. So currently these fans are looking up to these super perfect people who have no flaws, and this just gives them a false vision of reality, especially this younger generation. We think that giving them a more authentic view of the people who are actually giving the people a more authentic view of what's actually occurring is actually just better for society as a whole. They've also said it could offend fans. So we said that K-pop idols wouldn't reveal this really bad image, as if they do, then it's most likely that fans would stop watching them. Fans will stop watching them, or they could gain a reputation.
UI.
Taken, yes.
Do children need an authentic view of strip clubs?
we don't think that's actually relevant, as I've already proven. They won't reveal this bad image, and they don't have to reveal their public figure. It's only based on their choice. Which means that like they can choose not to, or they can choose whether to or not. So now onto my substantive. My point will be how there is much more authenticity to the public, as currently they are showing the public the fake version of themselves and how they have to act this way under a facade. However, now in our model, we are actually able to show a truer version of themselves to the public. In my point, I will prove two things. One, why can artists now show more authenticity? Because they can now better express themselves to the public, as they can now engage in connections to the public and show them what they care about, and can engage in relationships that are meaningful to them without like this fear of being interfered from like these music labels. And this autonomy, as proven by my first speaker, allows them to maintain their integrity and personal freedom, which is essential for authentic self-expression. They can also now express their true self to the public and no longer have to listen to this completely manufactured and fake image of themselves, and can connect with the fans. And also, in the current world, they could just choose not to engage in romantic relationships as it's too stressful for being found out. Now they are free to make their own choices and can live authentically. So why is this good? So authenticity reduces stress and anxiety because it would eliminate the need to maintain a facade and like a fake image. Being true to themselves would mean that like they have a better mental health and emotional stability, as they don't have to always stress about being seen as fake, and this in itself is principally justified. However, this lack of stress could also lead to them making better movies where they express their true self or music. And so this also creates an enhanced emotional connection with their fans and make them more positive role models, as fans can see them for who they truly are. They can now have more creative and innovative opinions, as they can express themselves better. They no longer have to worry about fans liking them for something that they aren't, and fans now know who the idols are, so they can look up to the real thing and know who what society actually is. And this also improves their mental health because they are allowed to express themselves. So what are the impacts of this? This is better for fans, as they now know who their idols are. They don't have this diluted view of society where like they think everybody is perfect. They can also produce better, and now these musicians can now produce better, more authentic music without the stress about thinking that like these fans look up to them for something that they actually aren't. So at the end of this, what we see, Judge, is that the government can actually improve music while also allowing people to live authentically and who they truly are, in comparison to the status quo. Thus, I'm proud of the government. Thank you.
When governments like presumes the podium, they make it sound like it's an option to be under the public eye and receive public perception. That is not a choice. It is something you are subject to the moment you are under the light and you actually debut. Directly moving on to some direct rebuttals. On the first point on pressure and mental health, three main layers here. First of all, these idols and musicians should have been aware of the consequences and that the public eye should have been on them the moment they debuted. They should have been aware of this consequence. And if they are unaware of these consequences, it is extremely hard to have long-term prosperity. But pretty surely, these music labels have already reminded these idols or musicians in these contracts. But keep in mind, the idols have the full capacity to quit as a trainee or retire as an idol mid-career. Moving on to our second layer on how we also frame K-pop idols as idols who are upholded to extreme expectations, and especially because most K-pop idols are marketed as a perfect female or desirable male Korean, this means that if K-pop idols make poor life choices, they are attacked more than other public figures because of the high expectation they hold, meaning making a poor life choice and risking that is throwing their entire career under the bus and hoping it all goes well when it apparently won't. Also, they talk about the denied bodily autonomy, but the government exaggerates this. Idols are allowed to meet family, friends, with consulting are allowed to do things with their appearance and discuss with the company, so it's not as strict as them not being able to dye their hair in the shade they want, because we apparently have narratives from actual public press where people do get to choose the color they want, but they also talk about how it's not about K-pop idols. But the info site clearly specifies this, but this also applies to general Western pop. If Sabrina Carpenter is seen with another male dancing, it's also quite harmful to her image, which is quite famous amongst younger alpha generations. Is this the model we want to be set for these young kids? No. They also talk about idols who would be relatively careful with public perception, and hence it's not a word. We understand, but why risk the potential of you making a mistake and tarnishing your entire career, long-term image, and reputation? What is the benefit from government side to make this such an exclusive and favorable choice? Moreover, idols are overwhelmed by the sudden public eye and often make naive or immature decisions. Then the deputy goes on to claim that this is optional and they cannot choose to reveal themselves to the public. This is not a choice for especially popular musicians or musicians on mainstream media. Directly moving on to some points on rebuilding. The validity of our first constructive is maintained and our second constructive as well, because we see no direct rebuttal on this. But on their point on few things, first of all, on their point on how protection of certain idols are not that important, but we think it's crucial for the integrity of both the artist and the company, because these idols often tend to be immature and naive when they're under sudden public eye, making this argument quite valid. But on their point on role model, because youth idolize these stars, dancing after idols or following their looks or whatnot, it means that if they do something terrible or actually set an inappropriate example, it's worse. Moving on to our third and final argument on public perception, the principal assumption we take here is that the Korean media or any kind of Western media is very toxic, often over-exaggerating or spreading false rumors like wild forest fire, and hence public perception is key to an idol's success. This means that the media will do whatever it takes to get additional views or more attention on their news story. So the mechanization and main line of logic employed here is that public perception is the idol's public recognition. Hence, what goes on the press is what they are seen as in people's minds. If an idol is rumored to have done certain things, that is how the Pacific Idol will be recognized nationwide. Idols are often under intense media scrutiny, and any negative news can quickly spread and damage their reputation. Labels therefore take steps and measures to manage their artist's public image meticulously, meaning that sometimes intervening in their private life to prevent any actions that might attract negative attention is necessary, but this doesn't happen on affirmative side. In the long term, this leads to better career prosperity, and because any kind of news or controversy that might attract negative attention is avoided in the first place through the meticulous measures that the labels take. Controlling the public perception of these idols, labels can actually better manage their careers and public interactions. This includes from everything, including their appearance, their behavior in the public, and their interactions on social media, or how they appear on camera. This control actually helps create a consistent and appealing image that resonates with the audience, but also increases the marketability rate. It's extremely crucial that the company actually has an idol or a musician that they can work with, market well, and is fit to the concept of the group, meaning that once they actually fit using various other social interactions or their appearance, it actually makes them more marketable and likable for the public. So for these reasons, so proud to oppose.
Judge, the picture that opposition paints you about K-pop idols attending strip clubs and wearing incredibly revealing clothes is a clearly uncharitable and misleading characterization of reality. You cannot buy their gaslighting. All right, you'll hear two clashes from government bench today. First of all, about the impact on celebrities. Second of all, about the impact on fans. First of all, the impact on celebrities. They say that these celebrities should know about the public figure. First of all, we tell you they already do, but we don't see why this specifically affects people like these celebrities themselves. Just because they should know public perception is important doesn't mean they shouldn't have the basic right to like freedom of choice, bodily autonomy, that sort of stuff. They then tell us celebrities have signed up for like their pay package and all of that. First thing to say is we think even though they did, it's still not a principal justification why a company is allowed to just shape a whole person, right? It just makes a person basically a property, which we know is like really terrible, right? And second of all, we never heard a reason why necessarily celebrities, because they signed up for it, that just allows them to just become like a property of these media labels. They then tell us that this could entirely ruin the perfect image of idols. First thing to say, this perfect image is fake. Second thing, the portrayed image is also fake. We think we would rather than be true to the public and make... Was that a POI?
Yes.
All right, I'll take that POI.
How well do 18-year-old idols that spend their whole life training to be a K-pop star know about society?
We think these people, maybe they don't have that much experience, but we would rather them not be suppressed and have all their opinions and lifestyle oppressed by like media labels. We'd rather them maybe get advice from family members, maybe get advice from other people, as opposed to putting on a facade. The counterfactual doesn't actually portray an actual self. My second speaker has talked elaborately about why showing a fake image of yourself is extremely harmful. I'm also going to elaborate. Mechanisms why people aren't going to tarnish their public image. You have public accountability. Probably before you do something in public, you're probably going to think, because you know your reputation is literally on the line. We think these disincentives are sufficient to ensure people like don't mess up on stage, and therefore we don't think that we actually need such oppressive rules on these people to ensure they don't tarnish public image. So why is public accountability better than oppressive measures? We think public accountability is when people actually have a disincentive. They learn the way that society operates. If they mess up once, then they're going to learn in the future.
POI.
Yeah, I'll take that POI as well.
often musicians or stars are very overwhelmed by the sudden public eye and the attention that comes to them, hence making room for naive and immature decisions. But on opposition, we completely block that risk. What is your response?
We think, yes, maybe people are like, there's a lot of sudden attention that goes to them. They probably can get advice from people. When the media label hires them, they probably also tell you, like, you shouldn't be doing this. But overall, our team just basically believes that if you are true to, like, the media and the public, that's overall better for your public opinion, like, public image, than putting on, like, a fake facade, staying inside, and, like, literally just being, like, an online sort of, like, catfish, essentially, right? Back to why public accountability is better. Public accountability ensures that you, in the public eye, is essentially, when you go out into the public eye, the public basically is constantly watching you, and that's why you're unlikely to just mess up, right? So at the end of this, is protecting public perception more important, or is freedom of choice? Which public perception is a measure of success, but freedom of choice is a basic right. With advice, you can get good public perception and have freedom of choice. It is not necessary that we have to enforce suppressive measures. Clash 2, impact of fans, I'll be quick. They tell us that idols influence children. We tell you that's exactly why there are incentives not to add in a bad way. They could lose viewership if they like act really stupid. Plus, we don't think K-pop fans are like K-pop idols are essentially stupid people who just don't know how to do anything. They probably also prepare for this. And therefore, at the end of this debate, I basically proven to you why the impact on celebrities and impact on fans is beneficial on our side. Proud to government. Thank you.
Side government, our side is not a society where K-pop idols suicide and musicians suicide because they don't go to the club, where they have phobia of dating itself. Rather, it is a society where children can have role models and where artists will be able to have protection over the cold media. So proud to oppose. Move on to some rebuttals. First of all, that everything should be tweaked based on what the company wants on our side of the house, which is status quo, right? If we look at some examples and actually case lines, like for example, Aespa Karina, she chooses what she wants for her hair. Things like these happen on status quo. We don't know why they brought up this point if they don't characterize status quo itself. But even if they stated that even if they're contracted within companies, they're still oppressed. We want their opinion and expression itself, right? This is not the case that happens. Western artists have very bad image in the first place in some cases because they do whatever they want and ruin their lives from a young age, even if there are things like, for example, child actors, right? But also faking personality is much worse, and that the truthful is better on their side, right? Even stating the truth can come out wrong and be phased wrong, or the truth might be something that could tarnish your career itself, right? Most musicians have a fake personality that has to be likable for the public in the first place. Why make room for a slippery mistake to tarnish your entire career in the first place, right? But moving on, some clarifications. What does their side actually look like, right? Their side looks like a society where idols are still immature and naive, where these musicians are still immature and naive, therefore make immoral choices and ruin their lives because just of a single mistake they have made in their past career. This strips off the dignity of the artist and the company itself, as well as grow the negative ideology of the anti-fans. But what does our side look like then, right? Our side looks like on our side of the house, idols will be able to have constant protection and guidelines as to what they should do and what they should not do to keep their integrity and image. Also, take note of the fact that no thank you later, that idols can rest for a period of time or even quit if they're in severely oppressive conditions. We already explained this from our LO, despite the fact that companies do take caring for their artists as a priority. They are the ones that signed in, so they are also free to sign out. Before moving on to first class, I'll take that, POI.
Are K-pop idols really so likely to make mistakes without suppressive like rulings? Aren't they likely going to learn from experience better?
Well, they don't have any experience from like an age of like 11, for example, they start training for a K-pop idol, right? So for example, if this is the case for K-pop idols, then they have no actual benefits or actual like experience of actually being in society itself, right? So if they don't have any type of experience in society, the company's job is to protect the image of these idols and the reputation of these idols and protect these idols so that they could go into a better guideline itself. But moving on to the first clash about which side can protect the artist, right? First characterization differences. Their side looks like a society where individuals that are artists are exploited by the public and tarnished by the acts that they have made due to the decisions they thought was justified because they were immature and naive in the first place. Second, mechanism feasibility. On our side of the house, we believe that individuals will be able to have protection and K-pop idols will be able to have protection and musicians in general will be able to have protection when they are like idols or like maybe trainees and stuff like that, since they are guided with the way that these musicians have been or succeeded that went through, right? Image is very important, and musicians and idols need guidelines in order for them to actually go into society. Impact here is that K-pop trainees or idols or even musicians on their side of the house ruin their lives because of one mistake that they have made in their life. But moving on, second clash about which side can create a better role model for future generations, right? Mechanism feasibility. K-pop idols or all other types of musicians are often seen as role model and are marketed based on specific image that appeal their fans, right? Restrictions on personal behavior helps maintain this image, ensuring that it aligns with the labels of marketing strategy and expectations of fan base. For example, Sunghoon, after leaving his K-pop career for only 4 years because he felt his privacy was being violated or something like that, he made poor life decisions and threw his life away and sexually assaulted women, right? This shows that without mandating the actions of idols that are young do not have the capability to make their own choices and own life choices because they were in society, right? Also, moving on to impact then, right? The impact of this clash is that the comparative they show you to youth is that it is okay to sexually assault or show these types of negative chances or choices that these individuals have made and these K-pop fans or these musicians have made because they were actually experienced within society. So proud to propose.
Government makes it sound like musicians and stars do not make a single mistake. These mistakes are what will be scrutinized by the public, held leverage from anti-fans, and would populate and go viral over media, tarnishing their long-term image and reputation. Is this what government side is willing to risk? No, we do understand to an extent that it is not guaranteed they make a mistake, but it is also guaranteed that there is no guarantee they will not make a mistake, making it very safer if music labels actually do oppose certain things as this. Directly moving on to some clarifications before why opposition wins government. The measures are not so rigid as government side exaggerates to be. It will only be to an extent where the music label itself intervenes in their life for an extent where it's actually manageable, so they don't actually make big mistakes that tarnish their entire brand reputation or their reputation as a musician. This means that they would still be allowed to meet families, friends, and actually do what they want with their appearance, meaning it wouldn't be limited to such an extent where as government frames it as. On 4 points on why government on opposition side wins government. On first, denied bodily autonomy. They talk about how bodily autonomy is consistently denied on our side, but the thing is the government exaggerates this. Again, idols are still allowed to meet whoever they want as long as it's not something that will cause controversy, do whatever they want with their appearance, with discussion with the community. Communication is of the essence. If they talk with a company, almost anything is possible, and with proper consultation and how they will actually present themselves to the media, anything is possible in this case, meaning that bodily autonomy is not that big of an issue. But on the point on how these people are relatively careful at public perception, yes, they are, but does that guarantee no mistakes are to be made? No. Idols have ruined careers because they do one thing wrong. They go to the club out of curiosity. Their life and image is tarnished. A single leaked image is what ruins their life. If we look at Western artists, they don't have a corporation that mandates what they do, which leads to us looking at artists with bad reputations, and examples are Cardi B, Nicki Minaj, Kanye West, and so much more. These are artists that create but have bad reputation just because of a bad life choice they made, meaning that this is quite invalid when they bring it up to the debate. So for these reasons, we believe that opposition side take the debate home. We're so proud to oppose.
John, what opposition misses is that they try to claim bodily autonomy that people are able to. What opposition misses is that they try to claim bodily autonomy that people are able to basically do whatever they want, yet they also want to claim not making mistakes such as wearing revealing clothing. One question at the end of this debate: who gets better outcomes for these music stars? On the government side, we explain that music stars are having their bodily autonomy being stopped, not allowed to act like themselves, they're allowed to act like themselves, they're able to be more authentic for their fan base, and how this changes public perceptions in different things in a positive way. We also explain that when people are allowed to express themselves, they have often had media training from these like music labels, and they're also able to choose to just not appear in front of they can choose to not talk about their private lives, such as Daniel Radcliffe, who chose not to use social media as a part to try to limit himself to only his public figure and not his private figure. Okay, so what do we see on opposition side? We see that they say that people are untrained for media attention, and that they have to present a perfect image of their fan base. They also don't talk about the mental well-being of these actors, which we would believe is really important. Government whip also responds to how we think the fan base will love the music stars for what they are, so they don't have to actually act like for a fake person. We also add that this perfect image is not beneficial for anyone and actually pressures young people into a stereotypical body, which is really detrimental. They also focus on media coverage short term, forcing these stars to be a fake person and not focusing on long-term well-being of these music stars, which is focused on in government side and is obviously more important. In the end, do we believe that reputation is more important than freedom of choice? We do not. We do not buy the characterization that a mistake will change your whole reputation. Fans like people who are themselves, not those who pretend to be perfect. Thus, never proud to govern.